Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Infernus, and welcome back to another comic book review. How the hell are we already at 30? I just started recording, and I'm just now realizing I don't think it's even been that long since we were at 20. That was like, what, October with Black Adam? Well, the trend with 10 seems to be great DC movies. So let's see if we can continue that trend with the last DCEU movie that I'll be covering for the time being, The Suicide Squad. Now, unfortunately, I can't say that we'll be continuing the trend of great DCEU movies because I didn't really find this movie to be all that great, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't good. So, what did I like? For one thing, this actually improves one big issue that I had with the first Suicide Squad, and they actually bothered to give most of the characters, at least the surviving ones, a proper backstory. Like, one issue with the first movie is that at most it was just Deadshot who got a main, I think his name was Deadshot, Will Smith's character, who got a backstory with his daughter. Here, you have a bunch of stuff. Bloodsport was, is someone who's part of the Suicide Squad to keep his daughter out of jail. We spent a good amount of time with Harley Quinn, so she doesn't really need one. Polka Dot Man was experimented on by his mother. Ratcatcher 2 is the daughter of Ratcatcher 1, where they lived in poverty for so long. And King Shark doesn't need one because he's King Shark. Come on, what do you want us to tell? What do you want them to tell us? It's King Shark. Now, of course, and I will also mention Rick Flag. We also spent a decent amount of time with him in the first Suicide Squad movie, where he was one of the better parts of it, if I'm being honest. So even though he doesn't get a full backstory, he does get a pass. Peacemaker, however, doesn't get one, but I still think that his role in the movie is pretty interesting, where he had a different mission from Amanda Waller from everyone else. They were all sent to, destroy Project Starfish. He was sent to, keep things quiet. Well, really, they were all sent to keep things quiet, but he was also sent to, kill anyone who, found out about the project and essentially execute them if they tried to get it out there, like he did with Rick Flag. Of course, thankfully, he wasn't there to do anything about, Bloodsport basically blackmailing Amanda Waller, but that's a whole other thing. Another thing here is that the R rating is an inspired choice. With the first movie, of course, both these movies are about hardened criminals going on suicide missions. In the first movie, it wasn't really that brutal, and only one member died. El Diablo was the only one who, went out, and I can't say it was no blaze of glory as much as I want to make that pun, but like his death wasn't that brutal from what I can remember. Here, with the little, what's the word I'm thinking of? Basically, like the expendable members of the Suicide Squad, most of them die in pretty brutal ways. Blackguard gets his face shot off. Captain Boomerang gets a bunch of splinters in his face. The detachable kid gets his arm shot to death. Um, Even like Savant tries to leave and gets his head blown up by, Waller and her team. And it's like you even see it too. Like see all the blood, all the gore, and even with Rick Flag, you see the glass. It's like it's not even glass; it's like ceramic. When Peacemaker kills him, you see the shard go into his chest and then into his heart to really see how severe that damage was. And that's not even. But like the reason why I'm praising the R rating so much is because that makes the whole experience more realistic. Like the first movie wasn't even that brutal, despite the fact that the characters were on a suicide mission. Here, they were on a suicide mission, and it feels so much more realistic because of how severe and bloody everything is. When you go on a suicide mission, you can expect some members of your team to die in pretty brutal ways, and this movie captures that really well. The last thing I'll mention for the pros section is that unlike the first movie where it was just people shooting a bunch of things, this actually has a bunch of different action scenes that are unique to one another. You have a scene where Harley is beating people up with javelin in a hallway. You have the final battle against Starro where it's just rats. all the scenes with Bloodsport are pretty fun to watch in terms of action. The scene where Bloodsport and Peacemaker are having that that little dick measuring duel in the camp. I don't know how else to refer to that other than the fact that they're having a dick measuring contest. Needless to say, you won't be confusing any action scenes for each other in this movie. And I think that's probably one of the biggest pros of James Gunn directing it. Each of his movies are very unique in their own way, and especially here, he's able to craft a bunch of unique action scenes that are completely separable. So far the movie's looking pretty good. It's actually improves on the some of the issues that the first Suicide Squad movie had, and it has an inspired choice with its rating. But admittedly, there are some things here that I wasn't really a huge fan of. I'll just get the first one out of the way because it's kind of a subjective one. It's kind of just a me thing that still causes me to rate the movie lower. I'm starting to get the feeling that this kind of style of movie isn't really my thing. This dark, twisted sense of humor, which I know is James Gunn's thing and all that, but I don't know. It's just not the kind of thing that I'm. It's not my go-to sense of humor. I still enjoy it. The Deadpool movies had the exact same sense of humor, and I enjoyed both of those. Like I gave them 3 out of 5s, and this movie is also pretty good. It's just not the kind of thing that draws my attention, if you know what I mean. An actual objective criticism is that, again, Peacemaker doesn't really get a proper backstory, so we don't know why he is the way he is, or why he has such a brutal, method of, or such a brutal worldview where he feels like he has to kill all types of person. Now, I know that he gets that in Peacemaker, and I do plan on watching Peacemaker eventually. Not immediately, but I'll be getting there. But it would have been nice if they had given us at least a little bit of something in this movie. With that being said, I still think this is a pretty good movie, and pretty good. That gets you a 3 out of 5, and still gets you a decent recommendation from me. Just don't bring the kids. This isn't the kind of movie they'd want to watch, especially with how bloody and gory it is and how shocking some scenes are. And admittedly, Weasel is pretty frightening. But this is still a solid entry in the DCEU. And for their last movie for a while, at least until Black Adam last year, it's a pretty solid way to take a break from movies for a bit. Now we just got to prepare for the complete onslaught of movies that we're expecting this year. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for my review. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. I'm not going to bore you with all the generic stuff. Take care. See you next time, and Godspeed.